Hey, Nicole.
Hey, Dom.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. It's nice to talk to you again.
Nice to speak with you as well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked.
Yeah, well, you should be. For those of you who are listening to the audio, we're recording this on video too. And right behind Nicole is the most beautiful view of the city. It's a sunny, nice day, which for Vancouver, which is where you live, it's a bit crazy because quite often it rains there.
It's crazy. Yeah, so we're just absorbing every minute of the sun. We're enjoying every second of
The dryness while it's
it.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me here. Now, you and I met through a business club because you're quite the entrepreneur and you've got lots of growth plans.
Thank
And you and
you.
I met through somebody I also work with who's a maintenance subcontractor. So a long, convoluted path. But what I really liked was what you talked about regarding hiring. So that's what I brought you on here today to talk about.
Thanks. Yeah, hiring is my jam. Hiring is what gets me out of bed in the morning. I absolutely love geeking out over recruitment, all things talent acquisition. And that's part of why I started my company, Beacon HR, is because I realize that companies are not being served the way they need to be served in 2019 and beyond. And there are all these fun little tricks and tips that I think we're going to talk about today that just unlocks a company's ability to attract and hire great talent. So I'm really excited to get into that.
It's talent, people, is a real problem right now. And it's all throughout North America.
Oh my gosh, it's everywhere. My good friend Bob St. Jacques likes to say that the war for talent is over and the talent has won. There's no more war. It's done. They've won. So let's accept it and move on and come up with some strategies to turn your recruitment from reactive back to proactive and really to turn your recruitment program into a competitive advantage for your company.
Yeah. It's funny you say that. I don't know that people know when it's happening. So here's an example. I have a client. They're quite a large company. They build the coolest stuff, but nobody knows that they build it.
Yeah.
At the same time, they've got this steady drip of people. They never have a hiring problem because they're always just sort of interviewing. They've got a large crew. They're over 90 people, but they don't seem to have a problem finding people. It's just finding the right people at that point. Other companies go through this crazy, we lost a guy, we've got to replace him. And the whole company turns into this big recruitment monster. It's like this big fire pit.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose you've got some comments on that being an HR specialist.
I love that. I haven't heard it phrased that way, Dom. I love the recruitment monster because that's what it is. It's the in the first scenario, that's great that you have this constant drip of people, but are you just putting bums in seats? Or are these really the people that are going to be the right fit for your company for the next 6 months, but also long term? And when I talk about long term, it's a little bit different these days. It's not so much someone who's going to be with your company for 10 years, but at least a year or 2 years.
Wow.
So I really like to think about quality, and I know that the space we get in, the mindset is, oh my gosh, I need somebody ASAP. My team is spread too thin. Everybody's feeling the pain of not having the right person in here.
Right.
It's keeping you awake at night as the business owner. And just posting a job right now is not enough. You can't just post and pray is what it's called. You can't post the job and hope that the right person's going to come in. And you also can't have that desperation mindset because it's like dating. You want somebody who's got high standards, and someone who's got high standards is going to sense that desperation. So it's about putting a little bit of process around it, a little bit of structure around it, getting intentional, and as you say, getting rid of the recruitment monster and being proactive about it instead of the last minute reactiveness. Let's just get a bum in that seat.
Yeah, it's tempting to put a bum in a seat. Again, somebody else that I know, this isn't a client, they hired a foreman who was with them for less than 2 months. That has a real impact on the company because your team, regardless of, they're always sort of battling the foreman. The foreman's got that interesting job where they're between the floor and the office. It's a unique position. And there's a tension there, right? But anyways, now this foreman didn't work out, and the guys on the floor are like, see, told you. The murmuring on the floor starts to
Right. And you want your employees to have a sense of pride as well. So it's interesting to think about your recruitment program in terms of how it makes your employees feel as well, and how it can contribute to your culture in a positive way or a negative way. And then, of course, bringing that person in for 2 months, how much time and money have you spent to get them
It's
ramped up, to invest in their training?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to think about it, but all that owner's time is gone. So we've outlined the problem. Let me everybody on the line's like, yeah, Tom, I get it.
Yeah.
We get it. So what we're going to talk about today is attracting and hiring top talent. And I guess your job today is to give us some nuggets and tips for how we can get ahead of the monster and sort of get back to a proactive position so that we're not reactive. And we're running the ship. The ship's not running us.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited to get into it. I want to talk about employer branding as well, which is this incredible tool of answering the why. The why should I work for your company? And if you look at your recruitment like a funnel, just like a sales funnel or a marketing funnel, the top of your recruitment funnel is the attract piece. And then once you attract the right people, they go down through the funnel, through the various stages. So once you've attracted them, then you're going to engage with them in various ways, get them in for the interview, and ultimately get them to hire and then onboarding. But the attract piece and the employer branding piece, figuring out how to shine a spotlight on who you are as a company, what makes your company or the opportunity unique. How can somebody come in and let's figure out their motivators? Do they want to have an impact? Is it pay? It's usually pay to some extent, but figure out what are their top 3 motivators. Is it growth? Is it your company's purpose? People want to stand for something. Do you have a big, hairy,
they want to be proud of where they work?
Yeah, 100%. So I want to talk about that attraction piece as well.
Yeah, interesting that you talk about that. I have downloads on my website because people are always asking generally the same questions of me. I always get questions in buckets or themes, right? There's time, there's team, money, and strategy, or what the plan is. But under the team thing, I've got a download called How to Find and Hire the Right People. And there's a 2-stage script that I take them through, just what you talked about here: attract, engage, and then get them in. I always sit back and watch, and I know that the retention of people starts with the recruitment, because that's where we're teaching them what it means to be part of our company.
100%. And that's where ideally you're giving them transparency into exactly that. What is it like to be a part of this company? What is it like to be a part of this tribe? It's really important.
Yeah. All right. Well, take us through it. Do you want to talk to us about attracting first?
Yeah. The other piece is I want to talk about, so I'm going to make a note here, is candidate experience as well. So let's talk about attraction and then candidate experience. So employer brand, it's probably not a term that you've heard before. If you have, fantastic, good on you. Really what we do in employer brand is figure out who your ideal candidate is, and then figure out how to share your story so that it's targeted directly at them. I think a common mistake that I see is companies, let's take a job ad, for example. You post the job ad, you keep it pretty vague, you keep it pretty broad because you think you want to attract as many people as possible. What happens when you get those 50 applicants or 100 applicants, though, is that it takes you time to go through all of those people. And they're probably, maybe a few of them are worth talking to, but typically you have to go through 100 people to get one who might be the right fit.
Right.
What we want really is to get super crystal clear on your ideal candidate, market your job ads specifically to them. So figure out what's going to motivate them, make sure it's authentic, make sure it's meaningful, but craft your job ad so it's marketed specifically to them, because really what you want is 25 applicants, and of those 25, 10 are worth speaking with, 5 are worth bringing in for an in-person interview, and then you've got 3 people who are a great fit, not only technically, but they align to your company's culture, they align with your values. They're not just the placeholder for 6 months, but they're going to be a good fit beyond that as well. So that's really what we want, and that's employer branding, is figuring out how can we speak to that great person.
It's, it's funny you say that, because I don't speak the same language you do, but I understand what I go through it in a different format. But I know that in my own experience, I've had my own companies too. When I get down to that critical hiring point, I want it to be down to 3 people. I don't even like it when it's down to 2 people, because
it's like the magic number.
Yeah, like, you know what I always say, in the absence of choice, I'm forced to make a bad decision.
Yes.
I'm thinking in some cases about marriages I've seen, but in the choice, when you have a lot of choices, you really have to make a bad decision. So I want to have, 2 is still tight, but 3 is better.
3 is a nice number. And that's exactly it. You don't want to feel like you have to hire the best person, or you don't want to make a default hire. You want options, and you want, I'll go back to the word quality, because that's really what you want. You want great quality people to choose from. I'm going to let you in on another ninja move for attracting talent.
Sure.
And helping increase the quality of your candidates. We talk about building talent communities, or sometimes we say pipeline. You want to have an active, engaged talent community that's rallied around your employer brand. And your employer brand is basically, it's your reputation. It's what people are saying about you out in the community. Right. It's sometimes we start by asking, hey, Dom, what are the 3 words that a job seeker, that your ideal candidate would associate with your company? And then we say, okay, what do you want those to be? And are those aligned? And the thing with this is that it's already out there. Your reputation is already out there. It's an opportunity for you to define it. Otherwise, somebody else is going to.
Yes.
Yeah. So we talk about talent communities, and we usually start with asking, where is your ideal candidate hanging out? Are they hanging out? If it's online, is it on Facebook? Is it on Instagram? Is it on LinkedIn? Is it through various associations? Is it at your local trade school? Where are they hanging out, either in person or online? And then again, how can we speak to that? How can we be part of the conversation? Can you, let's pick Facebook, for example. Do you have a company Facebook page? If you do, if you do have it, are you posting frequency? But figuring out those ways that you can engage a talent community, and it builds over time. And that's how you get people actively engaged around your employer brand, so that when that job posting comes up, you have more options. You have people who are keeping eyeballs on you, and that's ultimately going to drive more conversation in the community, and more candidates coming to you.
Yeah. You know what? This all comes down to doing it on purpose. And so not just being reactive about hiring people when we need somebody, but always just keeping the pressure out there. This is why people apply for different awards in trades, right? They 100%. Want to get recognized by the NKBA, by the CKCA, by AWI, AMAC, whatever association they're in. They want to get recognized by those, because that's another thing that people, react to. I like to remind people that what we're trying to build here is a conversation around the dinner table, where, so it's typically a guy speaking to his family. So just allow me this for a second. It's a guy speaking to his wife, and his wife says, I looked at the website of where you're applying. You deserve to work here.
Yes.
But finally, it's your shot at the company you want. And if we can get that conversation at the dinner table to happen, that person is going to come to work. And obviously it can go both ways. It doesn't matter which spouse, but just think about that dinner table conversation where one spouse is saying to the other, you know what, honey, you're really good at what you do. You love what you do. This company's where you deserve to work. That's a different way of showing up to work than it's a McJob. Show up, we'll
Yeah.
put, you know, it's a
Yeah.
completely different person that shows up.
I love that. That's 100% what it is. Or it's at the barbecue. You know, it's at the barbecue when somebody says, "Hey, I'm looking for a new opportunity. I know that you work at this company. Can you tell me what it's like to work there?"
Yeah.
And that's another. I don't know why I'm calling these ninja moves. These are the
No,
things
those are ninja
that
moves. They're ninja moves for sure.
these are
Level
the
9
things
ninja.
that, you
Yeah.
know, they're opportunities that most companies are missing out on, is what it is. And the ninja move is really activating your current employees and turning them into ambassadors for your company. You wouldn't believe how often we go into companies and we hear, we do interviews with employees, or sometimes we do a survey depending on the company size, but we ask employees, do you feel like an ambassador for your company? Do you feel empowered to, if you run into somebody at a barbecue or at a party or a coffee shop, talk about what it is you do, talk about what you enjoy about where you work? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel like an ambassador? And typically the answer is, I don't even know what jobs are open. I didn't even know we're hiring, or, you know, we're really busy. I think we're hiring, but I don't know what it's for. And typically they say not really. So can you have a lunch and learn? Can you work that into your daily stand-up where you talk about the positions that are open that you're actively hiring for? You talk about maybe you have a referral bonus, and that can be monetary or non-monetary. How can you incentivize that or gamify that? Can you have once a month, can you celebrate, make a big deal about an employee that gets referred? So that's a ninja move also. That's a huge opportunity a lot of companies are missing out on.
So again, this is one of my current clients right now, and they advertise above the urinals because they know everybody. So they put internal postings above the urinal.
Above the urinals. Okay,
it's a guide thing, right? So when you're in there, you're just looking, but it'll say, look, we're hiring for this particular position, let's say a veneering specialist or somebody from microvellum, whatever the technical thing you need, but everybody at some point is going to look at that. And so that's how we educate them. It doesn't have to be super high tech at all. But now that you look at that, and a referral, by the way, for a referral bonus, you know, giving your employees, let's say $500 or $1,000 for a successful candidate is a deal.
100%. If you
do it all day long. Now, you know, I would say they have to be with us for 3 months before we pay it out, but for sure, because, you know, you think about a business owner's time, it's worth way more than that. And you just burn up cycles looking for people. If I can get a referral from somebody else who's already working in the company, those are the connections I need.
Totally. And great people know other great people.
Yeah. So there's the tip of the day, Nicole. You may not have known that one, but posting it above the urinal.
Okay, I'm gonna take that to our clients.
But it doesn't have to be high tech, right? It can be low tech as well. So it's just a good way to go. And keeping it top of mind that you're looking for somebody is okay. It's totally fine. All right, so that's some ninja moves for finding people in employee branding. And then you wanted to talk about the candidate experience. What's that? Yeah,
candidate experience. It's a jargony term, but I like it a lot. We call it CX for short. And candidate experience is all about Dom, I think you mentioned that it's really important that the interview process is a positive experience for candidates.
Right.
And that is either the first or second or third point that they form an opinion about your company. Right. Sometimes it's in talking to a current employee at the barbecue. Sometimes it's looking at your job ad or your careers page. But that first interaction is so important because even if they're not the right fit, you want them to become an ambassador for your company, and you want them to go tell 3 people about what an incredible opportunity or what an incredible experience they had interviewing with you. And this actually happens. We have candidates go through an interview process. They don't get the position for whatever reason, but then they become a source for referrals because they had such a great experience.
Yeah. You know, the other thing I need to add to that, because I think we forget this as business owners, but it's really during this interview process, it's the first time this outside person gets to see the systems in our company. So if we're a scattered disaster, they may not want to work for our company because we've got a scattered and a disaster type interview process. It's far better if we say, here's how it works. We place the ad, you respond to the ad with, a resume and a cover letter, whatever you need. Then there's this first phone call. I go through this all in my how to find and hire the right people. And I have scripts there for people to download too, so they know what to say on the first phone call and what it takes to get to the second phone call. But people start to see, hey, this is a process-driven company. It's a serious company. You know what that means? They probably take safety seriously. They probably have great tools. They're probably proud of the work that they put out. I'll bet you everybody who works there loves it there. And that's how it starts. If the opposite is true in the interview, here's the analogy that I use. I'm going to pick on Chinese restaurants because I'm just observed. If I go to a Chinese restaurant and I go into the bathroom and it's a disaster, what do I think is going on in the kitchen?
Right, the same thing.
I'll be honest, sometimes I still eat there. But every second I'm doing that, I think about how bad that bathroom is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And no matter what, I paint that picture in my mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's so important, and it doesn't have to be big things. It's not costly. You're talking about your script that you have for people. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute, incredibly detailed first phone interview, but it's more the structure. Let's say it's a 10 to 15-minute first conversation. It's setting the candidate's expectations, letting them know what they can expect out of the next 15 minutes. It's taking a moment to introduce yourself and give them a time to introduce themselves as well. It's having that small talk, breaking the ice. It's wrapping up by giving them a chance to ask some questions and keeping the energy high, keeping the excitement high. You really want to carry that momentum through the entire recruitment process. And then when they come in person, it's the little things like making them feel comfortable and giving them a clear, maybe shoot them an email with your address and confirming the time so that if they need to know anything particular about where to park or transit accessibility, anything like that. It's just making the interview process as smooth and as seamless as possible while giving them transparency into your culture. So if you've got like a crazy sense of humor and it's quirky and it's fun and it's loud and whatever it is, show them that in the interview process, because you want them to either opt into that and be like, yes, these are my people, I want to work here, or opt out and be like, no, the sense of humor is a little too much for me. This isn't my tribe.
I'm a quieter, more detailed kind of person.
Yeah.
You know what I do like in that first phone call is I look for red flags, and I'm very aggressive about eliminating the red flags. Before that person comes into my office, I set aside an hour for the meeting and I waste my time. I'll ask them questions like, hey, why are you leaving where you're working at now? And if they give me an answer that's reasonable, that's okay. But if they start saying, oh, the boss I work for is a this and that, and you know what, and everybody here stinks, and okay, well, your attitude is bad. Regardless of whether those things are right or not, the way you're saying it to me, not good. And so that's when I go into the little script that says, you know what, we're putting together a short list. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to look at all these interviews later, and we'll get back to you if you make it to the second stage.
Yeah.
Which, my friend, are not making it back to. Because I don't want to waste my time. That's why that first phone call is so important, because time is the most important thing that business owners have. We just cannot afford to waste it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% agree with you. It's so important, and it's really telling. Some of the red flags I look for is, were they on time? Are they prepared? Do they know anything about the company? So those little things, and then using it as an opportunity to ask some of those hard qualifying, the qualifying questions that are just going to be black and white. For some companies, it's things like, salary expectations. What are you currently earning? Do you have the ability to pass a criminal background check? Do you have a valid driver's license? Do you have a vehicle? Things like that you can get out of the way so you're not wasting your time when they come in.
That's right. Do you have a DUI? Have you ever had a DUI?
Yeah.
Right? Driving under impairment, whatever state or province you might be in, those are different words.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's jump for a second here because I want to start wrapping things up. I know you've got to get back to your day. When you're doing the face-to-face interview, what are some of your favorite questions to ask.
Ooh.
Yeah, do you have a couple of those?
Yeah, one of my favorites right now is I explain that part of our interview process, part of our recruitment process will be to speak with your references. Can you tell me when we speak with them, what will they tell us about you?
Oh,
And I love that question because it's not the strengths and weaknesses question where people can really say whatever they want or they say what they think you want to hear.
right.
It puts them in the mindset of, okay, they're going to speak with my references if I'm close to getting this job. And it adds that level of credibility. So the authenticity of the answers we get in that question are just, they're so much better.
Yeah, that's good. My favorite right now is I'll ask them what sport they play. And if it's a team sport, then I'll ask, if our company was a team, what position would you be?
Oh, I like that.
So would you be a quarterback? Would you be O-line? Would you be a running back? And then why? Why would you be a running back? And they'll say, because I always get called on to make the clutch play. Well, I want to hear that, right? I want to hear what they think of themselves and use the analogy over to sport, whatever their sport is.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I like that you ask why. Good rule of thumb is to ask why 3 times. So they answer the question, great, why? Next, the next answer, perfect, can you tell me more about that? So dig deep, deep, deep 3 times on each question you ask. I have to admit, I don't always go 3 times on everyone, but it's a great rule of thumb. It's something to think about if you really want to get to the root of it.
Yeah, that's, what's funny about that is that's actually a coaching strategy.
Oh.
Good coaching. Yeah. Ask 3 whys and a what. So why, and then based on that, what would you do differently, or what would you like to do next?
Okay, great.
Everything is laid open and the path is clear.
Cool. I'm going to try that today.
Yeah. Don't do it on me. I'll be watching.
Not on you.
I'll know what you're doing. Hey, thanks for being with us. If somebody wants to get in touch with you and learn more about recruiting, about some of these ninja level tricks, how would they do that?
I would love to get in touch. The best way to do that is through our company LinkedIn page, Beacon HR, on our Facebook group, or on Instagram. Our handle is at Beacon HR, or of course on our website, you can find some info there. It's www.beacon-hr.com.
Beacon like the shining light.
Beacon, like we will guide you through the sometimes stormy waters of HR. We are the light that will see you through the storm.
Yeah. Well, and it is a storm. It is a storm. And it takes so much time to get it right. The other thing I like about using a professional like you before the candidate gets to me is that I like having that layer where this might come across wrong, but I want their time to be wasted with you, not me. Because I've got to run my company, and I want you to look for the red flags and just say, just give me the top 3 people. I don't have time to talk to the other 25.
For sure, because you don't want to do recruitment off the side of your desk. That maybe worked 10 years ago, but it doesn't work today.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what industry, what trade it is. Especially with a newer generation with different expectations, with, like you said, people not keeping jobs, like a long-term employee now might be 3 years.
Exactly. And we talk a lot about millennials. The fact is that in 2025, millennials are going to make up 75% of our workforce.
Yay.
So let's get ready. Let's get ready. Let's get prepared.
But millennials also have a good point that since we're their parents, it's our fault that they are however they are. And I think if you look back, every generation looks back at that separated generation that comes to follow with some sort of sneer. Well, we were that too at some point. So millennials are no problem. I've been running I've been running something called the Global Student Entrepreneur Awards here out of my city.
Cool.
For a couple of years now with EO, which is how you and I met, right?
Yeah.
And those are millennials, and I'll tell you what, our world is in fine shape if those people keep moving on into leadership positions. So it doesn't matter. It used to be hippies and Gen Y, Gen X.
Yeah.
They're coming, so just make the most of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Dom. This was so much fun.
Yeah, great interview. Thank you so much. And everybody listening, if you want to find Nicole, find her at Beacon HR, or you can get her on LinkedIn at Nicole Davidson. All right, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us here today. Have a great one, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.